Maybe you're wondering if now is a good time to buy in Healdsburg. Maybe you've got a great job, you've got the down payment saved, but all the recent headlines about the pending market correction and the rising interest rates means you're afraid of buying at the top of the market. Maybe you've been thinking about buying something for some time now. If you don't act, you may never end up buying your dream place in wine country, and you may miss out on enjoying the lifestyle that you have worked hard for and have been looking forward to. In this video, you'll learn about the specific Healdsburg market, understand all the risks, avoid the most common pitfalls, and so hopefully it will help you make the right decision for both you and your family. Or maybe you're one of those people who you think you can time the market to perfection and buy something at the perfect time when prices come down, interest rates come down, and there are bargains to be had. The reality is there are so many different factors that have to align for you to be able to time the market perfectly. The chances of getting it right are so slim, you'll probably end up not buying at all. Alternatively, if you understand the specifics of the market and understand the different circumstances under which it makes sense to buy now, you can make sure you minimize the risks and you'll certainly be able to reap the benefits both in the long term and also in the short term. So my name is David Hargreaves, one of the top 5 agents in Healdsburg. And in the last 2 years, I've worked with over 50 people just like you to buy and sell homes in Healdsburg and Sonoma County. But less about me, let's talk about the market and get to really understand what sits behind the headlines and why Healdsburg, like some other destination markets, is a little different. Before we get into the details, let's spend a few moments just thinking about how we got to where we are today in this housing market cycle. Ever since the beginning of COVID, home prices in Healdsburg and Sonoma County in general have been on double-digit growth, increasing 15% in the last year alone, bringing median prices, across the county to an all-time high. If we look at the average 30-year fixed rates in the US, we can see that in early 2022, the rates were at an all-time low, going back as far as the early 70s. And this low interest rate, combined with the large federal stimulus which drove consumer demand, has created one of the highest inflationary environments in 40 years, with inflation in September of this year still at 8.2%, although the November figures have it coming down a little bit to 7.7%. So coupled with these factors was the huge migration of people away from large urban centres due to the changes in working practices and just people's ability to work from home, which was, of course, driven by the pandemic. So this demand on the buy side, combined with low inventory levels, created one of the most competitive housing markets in well over a decade. So to combat this, the Fed started increasing interest rates by 0.25% initially in March, then 0.5% in May, and then over the next 6 months, it's raised the interest rate by 0.75%, not once, but 4 times, to the point where federal funds rate is now 4%. Recent housing market price increases, combined with the increase in the federal funds rate, which obviously has a knock-on effect on the mortgage rate, means that if you buy a house now, it will impact you in a couple of ways. First, you'll likely be buying at an all-time high. And the second thing is, you'll be paying a lot more interest on the money you've borrowed. So for example, a buyer who puts down 20% to purchase a home for $1 million today would be paying about $6,300 in monthly payments. And that's under a 30-year fixed rate mortgage set at 6.29%. So that same home purchase would have cost $4,200 at the start of the year, when the average mortgage rate was less than 3%. This is literally a 50% increase in the monthly payments. So it's no wonder people are having second thoughts. It's hard to get away from the headlines predicting the demise of the housing market in 2023 when you see articles like this in Fortune magazine and on the nightly news every single night. Based on the various headlines, you're probably thinking it would be a terrible time to invest. But before you jump to that conclusion that investing in the Healdsburg market right now is a terrible idea, and before you think, I'm just a realtor propping up the housing market, I want you to think about these 3 different arguments and make your own mind up. First, a big factor in driving the housing market is affordability. But what is affordability? It's not just a sentiment, it's rooted in 3 very tangible numbers and their interrelationship. The affordability index in the housing market is defined by 3 things: median house price, median income, and interest rates. Once these 3 factors get out of step with each other, people can no longer afford to buy homes and house prices start to fall. So let's look at these three elements specifically for the Healdsburg market. So let's start talking about median house prices. Let's face it, Healdsburg has always been an expensive area of Sonoma County, and over the past few years, median prices have continued to increase, with prices going up nearly 30% over the past 2 years alone. With median house prices in Healdsburg they're now at just over $1 million. So let's talk about interest rates. As I mentioned, 30-year mortgage interest rates have gone up from just under 3% to 7% over the past 12 months. And the last time rates were at these levels was back in August 2002. The bad news is we've probably not seen the end of these rate rises just yet. There's almost certainly more to follow. So on both these measures, things aren't looking too rosy. So on median prices and also interest rates, the measures of affordability, they're just not looking too rosy, are they? So let's consider median incomes. For most people who work in Sonoma County, where median incomes are currently $86,000 a year, and who live in Healdsburg, where median home prices are just over $1 million a year, there's no question that home prices have got ahead of median income levels. However, when it comes to affordability, the Healdsburg market is just a little bit different. So let me explain why Healdsburg is a little different. In the first half of 2022, 56% of all purchases in Healdsburg were people purchasing a non-primary residence. In other words, the affordability of homes here are more likely to be based on Bay Area salaries and not on Sonoma County salaries. So when you consider the median salary in the Bay Area is $165,000, nearly double the median in Sonoma County, it suddenly makes homes in Healdsburg within reach for a huge number of buyers who live in the Bay Area. In other words, by ordinary measures, house prices have reached the top. But for a market where incomes of buyers are double the median income, the market behaves a little differently. So as well as the affordability index, the second thing to consider is the fact that Healdsburg frequently gets highlighted as one of the best small towns in America, or in the case of National Geographic, one of the 30 best small cities in America. You know, it's still relatively close to San Francisco and so has everything that the city has to offer, but at the same time, it feels a worlds apart. You know, it's got the perfect combination of a climate that you can enjoy the outdoor lifestyle of, 9 months of the year. You know, it's got some of the world's best restaurants and some of the most coveted wineries in California. It's not surprising that people want to come and live here. If you are interested in how the Healdsburg lifestyle compares with some other areas such as Mill Valley in the Bay Area, please do check out some of my other videos. So it's no surprise that there's some very high-end luxury real estate developments currently underway in Healdsburg, such as Mill District and Montage as well as a couple of more new boutique hotels which are on the way. Like it or loathe it, Healdsburg isn't going to become any less popular as a place to visit or a place to live or to purchase a second home anytime soon. Because of this, and the fact that there are a relatively small number of properties for the 12,000 residents, it means there's always going to be a certain amount of house price protection based on the lack of supply and demand in a city that a lot of people want to enjoy. So the third thing to consider are the changes in working practices that have taken place as a result of the pandemic. People who worked in the Bay Area never used to have the option of living in Healdsburg. Now, with the changes in working patterns, at the big tech companies, and the ease with which many people can now live in Healdsburg while working remotely for companies in the Bay Area and beyond, Healdsburg is now a place many of these people can actually choose to live. So this creates an even stronger market for people looking to purchase in Healdsburg. What's more, because of the affordability equation mentioned earlier, these people can afford it. Perhaps this was evidenced by the fact that in the first half of 2022, 42% of all purchases in Healdsburg were for cash. There's no question that the market has cooled in Healdsburg, as it has in many places, with the number of homes getting multiple offers falling from 32% in the first half of the year to 20% over the past quarter, while inventory levels are continuing to rise as sales stall. Determining whether now is the right time to purchase depends entirely on your situation and whether or not you fall into one of these three different categories. Firstly, are you an investor? If you are, then now may not be the best time to buy because it's possible that there could be some better deals next year. That being said, there is an opportunity cost to sitting on the sidelines, and if you know the numbers and know the market, there'll always be opportunities that come up. You just have to be super picky to make sure you land the right deal. Second, If you're at a stage in life where you're trying to get your foot in the door of the Healdsburg market prior to making a move here once you either retire or become work optional, or you're purchasing your first home in Healdsburg, now could be the right time. This is especially true if you can afford the monthly payments or are largely a cash buyer and you're going to be holding on to the property for a minimum of 5 years. As you know, any market, whether stocks or real estate, has a cycle. And the only way you can get caught out is if you're forced to realise the loss or the gain earlier than you planned. History has shown time and time again that over the medium to long term, real estate markets always rise, especially in a destination such as Healdsburg. The third scenario is if you're looking for a second home, but also want to have the flexibility for earning income while you're not using it. As you may know, vacation rentals are banned within Healdsburg city limits, and the county is currently revamping the vacation rental rules for Sonoma County unincorporated. While there are places immediately outside the city limits where it is possible to vacation rent, properties that are eligible, they just don't come up very often. And as time goes by, there's a possibility that the county will tighten up the rules still further, making it even more difficult to find one that is vacation rentable. Because the vacation rental moratorium will not be lifted until May, you'll want to have purchased your home by then, so that you can be first in line when the permits start to be issued again. So if you are looking to buy a place and do some work and put your own stamp on it, you'll need a few months to fix it up, which means you'll need to start looking at your options now, because it can easily take 3 to 6 months to find a property that will be eligible to get a vacation rental permit. So if you are in one of these 3 different situations, it's definitely worth actively looking for somewhere now, because you're more likely to come out on top compared to trying to get the market timing perfect and the risks associated with that. You also need to bear in mind that this downturn, it is a little different from the last one because of the events of the past few years. The economy, although it's weakening, it's still relatively strong. Income levels are continuing to rise and unemployment is still relatively low, although it's definitely on the rise, particularly with some of the recent layoffs at tech companies which we've seen in the news recently. So this, coupled with a relatively high demand for properties in a place like Healdsburg and continuing low inventory, which is at record lows, it makes a market like Healdsburg, relatively protected from the housing market swings that you see constantly reported in the nationwide housing market figures. Only you will know if your situation means that now is a good time to invest in the Healdsburg market or the Sonoma market in general. There's no question there'll be some very smart long-term investments made over the next few months and into 2023. It just depends if it's right for you. So thanks for watching this video. If you want more insights into the Healdsburg market, then please do like this video and subscribe to this channel to receive more videos like this. Until the next time, go well.